Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha. Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamaha. Jano Janandidam Satyam Uchate Bhava Bandhanat. Om Bhagavate Shri Swaminarayanaya Namaha. Shri Lakshmi Narayana Namaha, Shri Radha Krishna Namo Namaha, Shri Uma Maheshwara Swamine Namaha, Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 26th of November 2024. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Paramatma, Parameshwari for blessings so that we may understand very clearly and have the Anubhav, Aparoksha Anubhuti of the great truths that are expounded in the Vedantic tradition. So with that, Bhavana and Prarthana, we are going to examine a concept that is called sublation, S-U-B-L-A-T-I-O-N. This is a concept that is very important in all approaches to discovering the truth. What does this mean? What is sublation? S-U-B-L-A-T-I-O-N. Sublation is a philosophical and epistemological concept central to both Western and Indian traditions that involves the process of resolving or reconciling apparent contradictions or errors in knowledge by integrating them into a higher understanding or truth. For example, we say that there is all kinds of human conflict. One culture versus another culture versus another group, all this conflict that is there. How do you reconcile this with the notion that everything is Brahman? How is this reconciled? So this reconciliation is called sublation. You see, so to reconcile apparently contradictory ideas and to pull them together in a cohesive framework, a cohesive understanding, a cohesive wisdom, that is called sublation. Now, in Advaita Vedanta, sublation is called Badha, B-A-D-H-A, which means the annulment or negation of one level of understanding in the light of a higher, more comprehensive truth. It's very interesting. If we are sitting in an airplane and we're ready to take off and go, into the air, in one sense, before we take off, we see the airport, we see the people on the ground. But as we reach a certain height, everything begins to reduce in our vision. It doesn't actually reduce, but from where we are, it gets smaller, 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 smaller. Eventually, you capture so much height, you don't see it at all. You don't see the airport, you don't see people, trees, plants, bugs, nothing on the ground. You just see this vast landmass. It has some color, no doubt, but you don't see all those details anymore. It doesn't mean that the details are not there. They're there. But the vision has gone up. This is the whole point of self-realization. That as our vision, as our saintliness, as our sadhuta, as our pavitrata, as our purification increases, we do not see anymore the limitations of the world. Even though they're there is a perception beyond them into something much vast. They're there. If we want to see, we can see. We can land the plane and go back down. Yes. So this is the journey between Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. And Sachin is just giving his interpretation on this. This is a very profound subject in Vedantic studies. Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa mein yahi point hai. Savikalpa is like, we can see, you can see both sides of it. You can see the relative world and see the Brahman also. Meaning what? That when I'm on the ground in the airplane, I can see, what is going on the ground, all the different homes and trees and communities and all these things are there. But that is just a level of, binding to the gravity. I'm not even Savikalpa yet. Savikalpa means that when I take off, now I can see a much vaster area, but I can still see the houses and trees and plants, 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet as a plan. If I'm sitting in the cockpit with the pilot, I can see quite a bit actually. I don't know if you've ever been in a cockpit. I had the opportunity one time in an Air India plane in 1999 to go in the cockpit for a half an hour. At that time, they were allowing some people to do so. And I was there for a good half an hour with 4 pilots. And it was the most extraordinary vision. You cannot hear any sound of the plane even. You feel like you're just standing still on top of the world. Incredible vision. And the whole area looked flat, the flat earth theory and all that thing. I said, why is there no curvature? So the pilot said that's because the curvature, you cannot see that even from this side. You have to go higher. So whatever, but it was the most amazing experience, right? You don't feel like you're moving at all. Barely you can feel that you're moving. Barely. You don't hear any sound of the airplane. None. This was in the year 1993. About 40 of us had gone to India. This was one of our SWAMINARAYAN trips. I was in my 20s at that time. We were learning about satsang, and we had gone, for 3 months over there. This is in 1993. And I had the opportunity in the Air India plane to go in the cockpit. Not they don't obviously allow anybody, but somehow they gave me that opportunity. I was there for a good half an hour, 45 minutes. And it really illustrates this savikalpa, nirvikalpa, ye sab baat jo hai. Just by that experience I had, so amazing. It's just vast area you can see. It's just the most mind-boggling. It's not like sitting in a window on the window seat and seeing that little through the window. It's not like that. It's totally different. But you don't hear anything up there. You just see this vastness. This is the point that in Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa Samadhi mein aisa hi hai. Savikalpa is where you still see the world. Even at that height of 30,000, 40,000 feet, still you see the world. The continent or the landmass. But if you go further into outer space and go further away from the earth, you will not even see the landmass. All you see is that you just see a little dot of the earth. That is still Savikalpa. If you go further away from the earth and towards the sun, and eventually you go closer and closer towards the sun, I'm using this as an analogy, you will not see the earth at all. That is Nirvikalpa. You see this. It is a height of vision. As our consciousness, hamari jo chetna hai, as it goes through the chakras and goes into the Agnya chakra, once it reaches Agnya chakra, that is the 2-petal lotus. Hum, ksham. These are the 2 beej mantras of the Agnya chakra. Or waha divya shivling hai. The Jyotirling is there. It is alokik. Wo paralokik baat hai. In Vedas mein Bhagwan Swaminarayan talks about this Agnya chakra. And he mentions something very beautiful. He says that is the border. That is where Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti ends. Sthul, Sukshma, Karan, Sharir, they end. Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamogun, and 3. They end at the Agnya chakra, where duality itself ends. That's why it's a 2-petal lotus. It's actually there. It's not some imaginary thing. Or waha Jyotirling hai. That is the location of one of the forms of Shivji, Agnya chakra. Alokik sthiti hai wo. Jab, once you reach that stage, it is where one begins to go beyond Savikalpa state. One is at the border of Nirvikalpa, Savikalpa ki sthiti ke border mein hai wo. So you're aware of the nature of the sansar and of the world, but one is above it also. One is no longer stuck inside there. And then there's a transition from Agnya chakra to Sahasrara chakra. You see, the Sahasrara chakra is the 1,000-petal lotus that opens up. Once that transition, so from Agnya Chakra to Sahasrara Chakra, there are infinite number of spiritual worlds between these two chakras. They're not something physical like in this physical body. When a yogi goes into dhyan, they enter into a different dimension. It's beyond the subtle body, beyond our, how our dreams that come up and all that thing. It's beyond that. I kind of diverted a little bit from what we were talking about. But my point is simply that as the bhakta evolves further, the process of sublation has already taken place. Everything fits into the right picture. And the way Ramakrishna Paramahansa described that is called religious determinism. The way Swaminarayan Bhagwan talks about that, Shriji Maharaj, he says that Bhagwan karta thaka akarta che. God is the all-doer, the supreme Paramatma, but is also not doing anything. The eternal witness. Both are true. All-doer and non-doer. Sounds contradictory, but it's not. We'll talk about it some other time. Because when the yogi begins to connect with the gunatit avastha, गुणों से बाहर निकल गए, सत्व रजतम, मेन पॉइंट इसमें क्या है? कोई अहंकार नहीं है, बिल्कुल नहीं, कि किसी भी प्रकार का अहंकार रहता ही नहीं इसमें. Because one is completely evolved. It's like, sitting in that cockpit of the airplane. I'm reminded of that again. You feel free. Whatever is happening on the ground there, it doesn't touch you. You're above the clouds. The clouds are below you, in fact. The height is such 40,000, 45,000, whatever the height is. It is so high. Clouds are below. Below the clouds is all the landmass. Even if there's a massive war going on there, some diseases are going on, some terrorism is going on, horrific things are going on, you're not even aware of that thing, what is going on down there. You're flying above the clouds. It's of no consequence. Now this is interesting. So to have that vision of total transcendence, like flying in that airplane, while living in the world, that is called Gnan Pralay. वचनामृत में इसको ज्ञान प्रलय कहते हैं. आत्यंतिक प्रलय भी इसका नाम है. चल रहा है संसार में, सब कुछ चलता है. It just goes on. Is there any end to it? How many people have come and gone? How many political systems have come and gone? How many governments have come and gone? What consequence does any of it have? It has zero consequence from a nirvikalpa point of view. It has relative consequence to do our duty here, to do our duty without attachment, with karma yoga, with the welfare of all. If we do it that way, we become free from the binding power of the sansar. Otherwise, we'll not be free from it. No way. It's like the airplane that is out on the runway. You know how it's all fueled up, ready to go, right? It's still on it cannot just fly like that. It has to capture speed, and then it can eventually, a point comes where it becomes airbound. It doesn't become airbound even when it's just running on the runway. At some point, after it captures enough speed, it becomes unbounded from the ground. Similarly, a bhakta, a mumukshu, a sadhak becomes flight, it becomes unbounded from the sansar. An inflection point comes where the unbinding happens. An inflection point comes as sadhana increases, as bhakti increases, as manan chintan increases, as connection with the Ishta Devata, Bhagwan Shankar, Bhagwan Vishnu, Bhagwan Krishna, Jesus, whoever the enlightened being, as that increases further, our energy inside, the Shakti inside, takes an inflection point. And that inflection point is at the Agnya Chakra. It crosses the Agnya Chakra. And that is the inflection point out of Maya. Just like an airplane begins to take off, and a point comes, you can feel it when you're sitting in the airplane. Oh, now we are airbound. A point comes where the wheels are no longer touching the ground. There's a point like that. And that point is where we are no longer stuck in the Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti, Sthul, Sukshma Karan, Sattva, Rajtam, किसी के साथ कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. Purna Vairagya. When the airplane is gotten off that ground, it is free. Until it is off that ground, there could be an earthquake. There could be a crack in the runway. There could be some kind of a damage to the runway. This plane might sink. The plane might get a flat tire. There could be some iron pieces that will make the flat tire. Everything is possible until that point where the wheels no longer are touching the runway. And this is the extraordinary transition from a baddha state, a bound state, into an unbound state. The moment the sadhak becomes unbound, uska, it's like the free bird. It's freedom. It's freedom from the binding on the ground. It's freedom from the binding on the runway, from the binding in the airport, from the binding on the planet, on the surface of the. It's freedom. What is that surface? The three gunas of Maya, the people and everything. It is when we're sitting in the airplane. The pilot is who's the pilot? That is the Sadguru. What is the plane? This is this body. Who is the passenger? That is the Atma. And we are traveling in this world. But without Sadguru, we will be trapped straight inside only the world. Without a certified pilot who is well trained, who knows how to fly, who can fly the plane, all you have to do is sit in the lap of the Sadguru and continuously get absorbed, which is what happens. You're not flying. Sachin is not flying the plane here. Sachin is sitting in the lap of Shankaracharya ji. Sachin is sitting in the lap of Bhagavad Gita. Sachin is at the ashray of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. Who is Sachin? Is nothing. I don't know anything about any of this thing. But unki krupa se, we are connected with them, and by connecting with them, we are also going to take where the pilot is going to go, we're going to go. But the difference is that the pilot is flying the plane. We're not flying the plane. That's why Bhagwan Krishna Gita mein kehte, Arjun, you are just a nimitta. I'm the one doing everything. You don't think you're doing something. You're not doing. If Sachin goes into the airplane, I have Shraddha. See, now this is another point. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. I have to have Shraddha that the pilot is sane, stable, well certified. It's a good airline. If I don't have that faith, I'll not go into the airplane. What if somebody tells me you're going to crash into this? This pilot is psychologically unstable, was hospitalized 5 times at the hospital, and is having hallucinations, and is going to. You think anybody is going to go on that plane? It's Shraddha. Even going on a plane is Shraddha. See the plane analogy. Whole Brahma Vidya we can learn from this. Simple analogy. Even when you're flying in the air, there are some rocky points and all that. But the pilot has to be expert to get out of that thing. That is why the Guru is these scriptures, great sages, unke saath sang nirantar rakhna. Even if we start flying in spirituality, we need them all the time. Okay, we'll continue on this further. Something very interesting. Started talking about sublation. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. How this all See, let me just make one more point. When a person begins to take off, from the ground, everything begins to fall into place. You can see the whole picture. You can see, this is this town, this is this town, this is the road connecting here to there. You can see actually from the height, different cities and different villages and towns at nighttime and all that. You can see the lights and you can see the physical. You can see how they're connected. The higher we go, the greater the vision of the interconnection of the material world also. So we don't get bound. There is a greater reality that comes together in our mind, and that is exactly what is meant by sublation. Every day we'll have a new concept to consider. Thank you so much. Om Dhyanamalam Gurur Murti Mantramalam Gurur Vakyam Pujamalam Gurur Padam Mokshamulam Gurur Krupa Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Durge Durge Rakshini ठः ठः स्वाहा ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे स्वाहा ओम श्री राधा कृष्ण अर्पणमस्तु।